In the secluded town of Nightshade, nestled deep within a dense forest, a centuries-old coven of vampires, known as the Nightshade Coven, lurked in the shadows. Led by the enigmatic and ruthless vampire lord, Victor, the coven had thrived in secrecy for generations. Nightshade, as its name suggested, was a place where darkness reigned supreme, and the eternal night cast an unsettling pall over the land. The townsfolk had long whispered tales of the bloodthirsty coven, but they were unaware of the true horrors that unfolded behind the closed doors of the coven's ancestral mansion. As the centuries passed, the members of the Nightshade Coven had perfected the dark art of feeding on the life essence of humans. They reveled in their immortality, the intoxicating taste of blood, and the power it provided. But beneath their immortal facade lay a deep, unquenchable thirst, a hunger that drove them to commit unspeakable acts. The town of Nightshade had been a willing supplier of blood for the coven, a sinister symbiosis that had persisted for generations. The townsfolk were under the coven's influence, their minds clouded by the vampire's dark magic. They willingly offered their blood in exchange for protection from the supernatural horrors that lurked beyond the forest. However, as the world changed, so too did the dynamics of power within the coven. Victor, the ruthless leader, had grown weary of the status quo. He yearned for more than the meager offerings of Nightshade and sought to expand the coven's dominion to a global scale. To do so, he needed to unlock an ancient and forbidden power that would make the Nightshade Coven invincible. Victor delved into the dark tomes hidden within the coven's secret library, searching for a blood ritual that had been outlawed even among vampires. The ritual was said to grant unimaginable power at the cost of an entire town's worth of blood. Victor, consumed by his lust for power, was willing to pay any price. With a plan in place, Victor began to manipulate the town of Nightshade. He stoked the flames of fear and paranoia, convincing the townsfolk that they were no longer safe within the town's protective embrace. He promised them a new, secure home in exchange for their loyalty and their blood. As the coven's dominion expanded, more towns fell under its control, each becoming a reservoir of human blood. The Nightshade Coven grew in power, and Victor's insatiable thirst for dominance drove him to commit atrocities that defied imagination. Meanwhile, the town of Nightshade, once a place of darkness and fear, had become a desolate wasteland. Its once thriving populace had been drained to the last drop, their lives sacrificed for the coven's relentless quest for power. But the darkness that Victor had unleashed was not without consequence. The ancient and malevolent force that he had tapped into was now a part of him, an insidious presence that sought to consume him from within. As Victor's power grew, so did the shadow that clung to his very soul. In a desperate bid to break free from the dark force's grasp, Victor hatched a dangerous plan to destroy the very source of his newfound power. He would unleash the ancient curse upon himself, sacrificing his immortality to save the world from the horrors he had unleashed. As the blood ritual reached its crescendo, the skies over Nightshade turned crimson, and the ground shook with the force of an impending cataclysm. The ancient curse, now unleashed, began to consume Victor's very being, twisting him into a monstrous abomination. The coven's mansion crumbled into ruins, and the townsfolk who had fallen under its sway were released from their dark enchantment. But the cost had been steep, and the town of Nightshade would forever be haunted by the horrors that had transpired. In the aftermath, the world would never know of the blood pact and the terrors that had been averted. Nightshade, once a place of darkness and fear, would begin the arduous journey of rebuilding and healing. The coven's reign of terror had ended, but the memory of their bloodthirsty legacy would forever linger in the shadows, a warning of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of the night. As the dust settled in the aftermath of the coven's demise, Nightshade was a town forever changed. The once barren landscape had started to show signs of life. New inhabitants, unaware of the town's dark history, had begun to trickle in, seeking a place to call home. Nightshade was slowly rebuilding, but its residents could never erase the memory of the horror that had transpired. In the years that followed, Nightshade's forests began to flourish once more. The ancient oaks, which had borne witness to centuries of darkness, stood tall and vibrant. The people of the town believed that the land was healing, that nature was reclaiming what had been lost to the Coven's reign of terror. But the curse that Victor had unleashed was not so easily forgotten. It had not been destroyed, it had merely found a new host. The ancient and malevolent force now lived within the very soil of Nightshade, its presence a constant reminder of the horrors that had transpired. As time passed, the town's inhabitants noticed a strange and unsettling phenomenon. Nightshade had become a place where darkness and light coexisted in an unnatural balance. The skies above the town remained in eternal twilight, neither day nor night but a perpetual gloom. Shadows danced in broad daylight, and the moon cast its silvery glow even when the sun was high in the sky. The townsfolk couldn't deny the feeling that they were being watched, that the spirits of the Coven's victims still lingered in the shadows. Strange occurrences became commonplace, objects moved on their own, whispers echoed through empty rooms, and eerie apparitions appeared at the periphery of vision. Children grew up with tales of the cursed town, and outsiders avoided it like the plague. But those who had chosen to make Nightshade their home could feel the town's eerie presence seeping into their very bones. They knew that the darkness that had once resided in the Coven's mansion had now become a part of the town's very soul. The forest that had reclaimed the land held its secrets close. It was said that deep within the woods, a hidden grove concealed an ancient altar. The altar was said to be a gateway to the realm of the undead, a place where the spirits of the Nightshade Coven's victims still lingered. As the years passed, the townsfolk would occasionally venture into the forest, drawn by an irresistible force. They would stand before the altar, feeling the weight of the curse that hung in the air. Some whispered to the spirits, seeking forgiveness for the past, while others sought to make amends for the town's dark history. But the spirits of the Coven's victims were not easily appeased. They had suffered for centuries, and their anger and anguish could not be assuaged with mere words. The forest remained a place of eerie encounters, where the living and the dead walked hand in hand, forever bound by the curse that had once consumed the Coven. And so, Nightshade became a town of paradox, where the boundary between the living and the dead was forever blurred. It was a place where the eternal twilight cast a haunting glow, and the memories of the past still echoed in the air. The curse had not been destroyed, but had evolved, its malevolent presence woven into the very fabric of the town. As Nightshade continued to rebuild and heal, its residents knew that they would forever be entwined with the dark history of the Nightshade Coven. The curse would endure, a reminder of the blood pact and the horrors that had transpired. Nightshade would forever be a place where the past and the present coexisted, where the living and the dead walked hand in hand, and where the twilight would cast its eerie glow for all eternity. As decades turned into centuries, Nightshade's curse only deepened. The town had become a place where the living and the dead existed in a state of perpetual unrest. The eternal twilight above cast an eerie pall over the land, and the very air seemed charged with an otherworldly energy. Whispers of the town's dark history reached the ears of paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers. They ventured to Nightshade in search of the supernatural, drawn by the stories of its cursed past. Among them was Lily, a determined young woman with an insatiable curiosity for the unknown. She arrived in Nightshade armed with a vast collection of instruments and a burning desire to uncover the truth. Lily's investigations soon led her to the hidden altar deep within the forest, the very gateway to the realm of the undead. The spirits of the Nightshade Coven's victims seemed drawn to her presence, their restless souls yearning for release. As Lily delved into the mysteries of the town, she discovered that the curse had woven itself into the fabric of Nightshade in ways she had never imagined. The twilight had an unsettling effect on the town's inhabitants, causing them to experience vivid and unsettling visions. Shadows moved of their own accord, and the very land itself seemed to breathe with a malevolent presence. The curse that had once been unleashed by Victor's blood ritual had taken on a life of its own. It fed on the fears and emotions of the living, growing stronger with each passing day. The town of Nightshade had become a crucible of the supernatural, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead had dissolved. Lily, determined to confront the curse head-on, delved deeper into the ancient texts and legends of Nightshade. She learned of a forgotten ritual, a way to communicate directly with the spirits of the Nightshade Coven and, perhaps, offer them a path to rest. Guided by the spirits themselves, Lily began to conduct the ritual. The town watched with bated breath as the night sky above the hidden altar glowed with an eerie crimson light. Whispers of the coven's victims filled the air, their voices a mournful chorus. As the ritual reached its zenith, the spirits of the Nightshade Coven began to materialize before Lily. They were no longer the tormented and vengeful entities that had haunted the town for centuries. They had become ethereal and serene. Their anger had given way to a profound sense of sadness, and they spoke of their yearning for peace. The spirits revealed that the curse had trapped them in an endless cycle of torment, a fate they could not escape on their own. They had longed for release but had been unable to find it. They implored Lily for her help, to break the curse that had bound them for so long. With a heavy heart, Lily agreed to assist the spirits in their quest for salvation. She delved even deeper into the mysteries of the curse, seeking to unravel the ancient and forbidden power that had once been unleashed by Victor. The journey to break the curse was perilous, and it tested Lily's resolve at every turn. She faced ancient traps, spectral guardians, and malevolent entities that sought to keep the curse intact. But with the guidance of the spirits and her unwavering determination, she pressed on. In the heart of the forest, beneath the twisted branches of the ancient oaks, Lily uncovered the source of the curse, a dark and ancient relic that had been used in Victor's blood ritual. It held the very essence of the curse, a malevolent force that had persisted for centuries. With great effort, Lily managed to separate the relic from the curse. As she did, a wave of darkness surged through her, threatening to consume her soul. The relic's malevolence sought to claim her, but Lily's determination and the spirit's guidance allowed her to withstand the onslaught. With a final, desperate act, Lily destroyed the relic, shattering the curse that had plagued Nightshade for generations. The very land seemed to sigh in relief, and the eternal twilight began to fade. The spirits of the Nightshade Coven, their torment at an end, vanished into the afterlife, leaving behind a town forever changed. As the first rays of true sunlight bathed the land, the people of Nightshade felt a sense of peace they had not known for centuries. The town began to thrive once more, its inhabitants living without the constant shadow of darkness that had haunted their past. Lily, now a legend in Nightshade, had broken the curse and given the spirits the peace they had longed for. She had transformed the town from a place of fear into one of hope and renewal. The memory of the Nightshade Coven and the curse they had unleashed would forever linger in the town's history, a reminder of the darkness that could be conquered by the courage of one young woman.